Welcome to the 23rd Annual Library of Congress National Book Festival, a place where everyone has a story. At this time, we ask that you turn off or silence your phones. If you need a restroom, over your left shoulder, right over there, is the closest restroom. We also want to notify you that this event will be recorded, and your entry and presence at this program constitutes your consent to be filmed or otherwise recorded. Thank you for joining us. For our next presentation, we have the Law Librarian of Congress, Aslihan Bulut, and the Legal Reference Librarian, Barbara Bavis, for a presentation on Congress.gov, the official legislative information system for the U.S. Congress. Aslihan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Aslihan Bulut, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as the Law Librarian of Congress. Thank you for joining us today. You may have visited the Library of Congress, but I don't know if you've been to the Law Library. The Law Library is the nation's custodian of world's largest legal collection, a collection of nearly 3 million items in print from all countries and legal systems around the world. While the Law Library's first obligation is to serve the Congress and the Supreme Court, we also serve other federal and state courts and agencies, as well as researchers and patrons from around the world. So our skilled staff, both American-trained attorneys and law librarians, provide research assistance and reference services on United States, federal and state legal issues, and our foreign law specialists, which is a diverse group of foreign-trained attorneys, provide foreign law research and analysis on over 300 legal systems and foreign and international jurisdictions. Some of you, I am sure, are from the DC area, and some are probably visiting from out of town and probably not within driving distance of the library, or perhaps you live an ocean away, but it doesn't matter. The Law Library is here for you despite the physical distances. We've made it very simple to find us on the web. Our easy to remember web address is law.gov. And there you can begin your search into the Law Library's digital collections on government by law, by region or country, U.S. state, or any other legal topic. One of our main virtual platforms was launched in 2020 to create, consolidate, and promote the Law Library's in-person and webinar-based courses, presentations, classes, trainings, and events, and it's called the Legal Research Institute. On the Legal Research Institute, you'll be able to find a schedule of our offerings, class descriptions, registration information, and links to related online resources and recordings of our past presentations. It is our one-stop collection for Law Library educational offerings, which among many include Congress.gov, the webinar series that Barbara regularly runs. And that does lead me to today's presentation. Keeping up with Congress.gov, which is the official legislative information system for the U.S. Congress, will show you some amazing features of Congress.gov that Americans can use to learn more about how bills become law and keep up with what's going on in Congress. It's my very pleasure to introduce our presenter, Barbara Bavis. Barbara is the Bibliographic and Research Instruction Librarian at the Law Library. In this position, she provides legal and legislative research presentations as well as legal research services to a wide range of patrons. She holds a bachelor's in history from Duke, a JD from UNC School of Law, and an MLS with specialization in law librarianship from Catholic University. Thank you once again for being with us today, and I will turn it over to Barbara.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. That was such a great introduction. I think we can just get on into it then, right? So I wanted to break down the presentation today, and let me know if you can't hear me. Thank you. I want to break down the presentation today into kind of two buckets. First of all, kind of knowing what we're talking about when we're talking about Congress and the legislative process. And then once we have that grounding in what Congress is and what their processes are, how we can stay in touch with them and how we can keep up with them. All right. So I'm going to talk about kind of two main areas here. And the first one I want to start with. Oh, did I turn it off? Sorry, technical problems. Oh, there it goes. Thank you. Your magic. So the first one I wanted to talk about are our legislative process videos. And you can access these videos from the homepage of congress.gov. It's a series of videos that actually walks you through each step of the legislative process. If you're like me, and before coming to the Law Library of Congress, I wasn't as clear on every single step other than what was on I'm Just a Bill on Capitol Hill from Schoolhouse Rock. This will actually give you that, in-depth detail. And if you're a person who likes to read along while you're watching something, we also have the scripts as well at the bottom. And for any of you who are teachers, do we have any teachers here today? Yay! If you are a teacher, you can definitely use those scripts if you'll just let them know where it came from, but that would be great. You're more than welcome to. On the side, sorry, let me step back. When you're in those legislative process videos, you're going to notice on the side there is a link to learn about the legislative process. In the Learn About the Legislative Process section, we give you a bunch of guides on the legislative process, both in-depth, so multi-page reports by the parliamentarian of the Senate and things like that, but also things at different levels. So we have Kids in the House, which gives you kind of grade level aspects, and I actually use the teen version of Kids in the House a lot because they have some great descriptions there and glossaries. I keep messing it up. There. Another aspect that you can find on the homepage of congress.gov is Congressional Research Service reports. And sometimes when I do these presentations, people might not be as familiar with the Congressional Research Service. They are a group within the Library of Congress that works directly with Congress. They don't have a public-facing side, but they create these amazing, detailed reports on different topics that Congress is dealing with right now. They are actually asked to by Congress. And what's great about them is they cite them. There's amazing citations in these CRS reports. So if you're working on a project, you want to get your feet wet in an area, you starting from scratch on it, CRS reports are a great place to start. It's really easy to search. There's just a blank keyword search, and then from there you can kind of limit down to date and whether you want to sort by relevance or by date, etc. All right. And once you open it up, you can see there, you'll get actually a PDF copy of that CRS report, and you can search within that PDF for your keywords of interest. Another thing I want to mention is if you're interested in the members of Congress, so you want to learn more about your senators or your representative, you can use the members page, which is at the top of every congress.gov page. There's going to be a link to members. If you don't know who your members are, there's actually a part in the middle of the page called Contact Your Member, and you can put your address in there, and then you can, it'll actually tell you who your members of Congress are and link you to their member pages. So I usually get asked at this point, great, what's on the member page? The member page gives you a bunch of great information. So where their office is, how you can contact them, where their website is. And oftentimes on their website, they will give you kind of an online form where you can contact people from the office as well. They'll also give you information about that member's history in Congress. So did they start in the House and then become a senator like Senator Baldwin? And then under that, you're going to be able to see every bill they sponsored and co-sponsored going back to 1973. And you'll be able to kind of sort through those bills and see what topics are of interest to that member. And another cool thing is that you're also going to be able to see when they made comments on the floor. So if they spoke on the floor, you're going to be able to narrow down to just what they said. And that kind of feeds in a little bit later to our congressional record page, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. But before I get to that, I want to talk about committees. So oftentimes when people call us and they have questions about what Congress is doing, it's usually because a committee meeting or a committee hearing was in the news. The committees page is a great place to look. And again, there's always going to be a link to committees at the top of the page. Members is right there, committees is right there. And on the committees page, you're going to get linked to a landing page, just like we saw for members, where you get information about where the committee is, how you can contact them, and what bills they're considering right now. Another thing I like to note, let me come over here. We always get asked, since committee hearings are published a little later than most other congressional items, we usually get asked, okay, well, this hearing just happened a week ago. Where can I find any information about that? We link you to where you can find videos of committee hearings here as well. So you can click on the committee, get to the committee's website, and see some of like the documents that might have been produced or talked about during the hearing. And then you can come here and see a video of the hearing itself. And those videos are usually captioned as well. I talked a little bit about the congressional record. Is everyone familiar with what the congressional record is? We've got a mix. Okay, I see some hands. The congressional record comes out every day after a legislative day in Congress, and it has a substantially verbatim account of what happened. So what was said on the floor, what was entered into the record. For any of you who have maybe a parent or a child that won an essay contest and the prize was that they got their essay into the congressional record, there's also a section for extension of remarks where you can find that kind of information as well. So congressional record is really great for keeping up with what they did every day. You can also narrow it down to member. So what did your member or members of Congress say on a particular day? And it's really easy. Sorry, I don't mean to step on you. It's really easy to narrow down here, and you can also narrow down by date. So if you know something happened a couple days ago, you can go back a couple days and look at that issue of the congressional record. It's really easy to do that, and it goes back all the way back to, where are we now? I think we're at the early 1800s on the congressional record. Oh, I went back. So I want to talk about now kind of more how to keep up with what's happening every day. So we talked about the congressional record, but the congressional record comes out the day after something happened. How do we keep track of what is happening right now, today? Well, not today because they're on recess, but generally today. Here on the homepage, so this is the homepage of congress.gov, you're going to see a section called Current Legislative Activities. I put a little arrow here. And what's really cool about this section is we link you to live streams of the House and Senate floor, so you can actually see people giving their speeches on the floor, having those debates, etc. And also, we link you to the activities that are happening on that day, both on the floor and also in committees. Down here you can see if there are committee hearings that are going to occur today or in the next couple days. We put that list there at the bottom, and you can see more information about those hearings. But I also want to turn to, oh, and I should also note, here is the CRS reports link as well. So we talked about those CRS reports. You can link to it right here. But I want to talk about a couple things that are in this recent column. First, yesterday in Congress, and then committee schedule. So yesterday in Congress is a really interesting resource where if you want to see just what bills were introduced yesterday in Congress or a previous day in Congress, what bills passed, what bills were reported out of committee, It's easy to link to the Yesterday in Congress page, and it literally will give you a list of all of those bills. So if you know that something passed in the House on a certain day, you can go to this list, go to that day, and then you'll see a list of all the bills that were passed. Make sense? I saw some furrowed brows. Also, if you're kind of interested in seeing a summary of what happened on that day, we link you to the Daily Digest, which is a section of the Congressional Record, where it just kind of gives you an idea of what bills were they considering, what committees were having hearings, and things like that. Also, the committee schedule link. Again, committee hearings are super popular with our public patrons. They call and ask us about it all the time. And what's great about this is it breaks it down. You can break it down by week, and you can see all the committee hearings that are expected to be held in the next week. And then if you're interested in a particular hearing, you can click on meeting details next to the hearing name. And then that's going to give you information about where it's going to be held, when it's going to be held. If there's a video, it will link you to that video. And if there's any like pre-prepared witness statements or memos that the committee put out about the hearing, we'll link you to that as well through the meeting details page. And I know I put it last, but it's like a last but not least situation. I think the most important thing is to suggest that you create a free account on Congress.gov. Has anyone created an account on Congress.gov? Okay, I see some hands in the background. I see a hand up front here. Okay, so since most of us have not, it's actually easy. All we need is your name and an email address. But let it be an email address you actually check. We do send you a confirmation email, so don't have it be your AOL account from 20 years ago. And once you confirm your account, then you can save your searches. So if you wanted to do a search on legislation, or if you wanted to do a search in the Congressional Record, I have to tell on myself. I tell on myself almost every time, but I actually search the Congressional Record for Library of Congress, and then I set up a search alert on Library of Congress in the Congressional Record. So I know every time a member of Congress talks about us, just to see what they're saying. You can also set up alerts on a particular bill. So if you want to make sure that you don't get left behind when a bill is moving through Congress, you can do that. And you can set up an alert on a member page. So if you want to see every time your member sponsors or co-sponsors a new bill, you can do that as well. And as I kind of mentioned before, you can set up an alert. So you can get an email every time something changes on one of your saved searches or on the bill of interest, etc. So for that, all you would have to do is literally click the create alert and give it a name, and then it's there. You can also consolidate your alerts so you don't get a million emails from us a day. I know how that is. My inbox is also full. So you get one email when something changes on your search. Any questions so far about that? No? And it is free. I usually get asked at this point, do I have to pay for it? You do not. You might want to give us 24 hours to confirm your account, but other than that, it's free, and we're very happy to have you use it. And I know this was a quick overview, but if you have any questions after we leave today, I'm more than happy to take them now, but after we leave, our Ask the Librarian page is right here, and I know it was mentioned in the prior presentation as well. We do have a separate law section for Ask the Librarian, so please feel free to give us a call or send us an email. Hi.
Hi, thank you for this presentation. I was wondering, could you talk a bit about the process for designing this platform and the process for adding new features to make it more, this information more transparent and accessible to the public? Are you working directly with the software, with the website designers and coders on this?
Yeah, so we do. I don't think I have a screenshot of that part of the page, but there is a Contact Us section of congress.gov. And one part of that is the Ask a Librarian, where you can send in questions, but not so much the technical side that you're asking about, more usually when people have kind of a problem where they're looking for a bill and it's not coming up in their search results. For more kind of technical questions like that, there is a link there for a survey. And I know that might be a little counterintuitive, but the good thing about having a survey is that people can have a free text box where they can give feedback about things that they would like to add. One of the things that was recently added, partly and due to that and partly due to librarian feedback as well, was that Contact Your Member, where you could put your address in and it would feed you back in, who your members of Congress are. And we've actually added that to the bill pages as well. So if people want to talk to their member about a certain particular bill, they can click that link and get taken there as well. So the Contact Us survey is really helpful for that, because then we know what you guys want.
I might put in a plug for the Office of the Chief Information Officer.
Sure.
Because there is a team for Congress.gov that regularly develops and releases new versions.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Howdy there.
Hey.
Fantastic resources. Who is your intended audience for this website, and who is the actual audience who tends to use it if they are not the same?
That's a good question. I would say the intent is for the public. That's why okay, I'm gonna pop quiz here. Had anyone used Thomas in the past? Oh, awesome. Okay, sometimes I don't get any hands. So starting with Thomas and then going into congress.gov, kind of the point, at least as I see it as a librarian, is to make that available to the public. So a lot of the things that you see here are things that are also seen by members of Congress and their staffs when they're using congress.gov as well. I'm trying to think. The main differences that I can think of between the congressional version and the public version is largely links to subscription databases, so paid databases. I'm trying to think of the other ones. So a lot of the things that you're seeing are things that Congress has also seen. So we use it every day at the reference desk. I'm constantly sending people. So the public generally, I guess, would be my answer. But I know that sometimes knowledge of that legislative system can be a little difficult because it can be a complicated process. And that's why I kind of try to push the learn about the legislative process and the legislative process videos. So if you get turned around, you see a word in Latin that you don't know what it means, the glossary, there's also a glossary, learn about the legislative process, and legislative videos would be great for that. But yeah, I think it's kind of two-pronged. It's Congress and the public, but the public is what I'm most concerned with. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, I think that one shut up.
I'm really curious for your level of effort whenever there's a congressional election or change of district boundaries. I can't imagine the activity to get that all correct. How many staff to run all this? Or you know what I'm saying? Like how big of an operation?
That's a good question. I'm more on the kind of contact with the public side, but yes, there is a flurry of work that has to be done when there's a changeover. And in fact, you might, if you used Congress the last couple months, you might have noticed that for a while, when you did a search for legislation, it was Congress's, because we kind of had an overlap between the 117th and the 118th. And that's just because we're working on getting all that stuff, turned over and into the system. But the good news is, particularly with members, that we go back to 1973. So any member who was in Congress in 1973 forward. So there usually is something up, unless they are a brand new member, that we can kind of turn to look for stuff. Yeah, thanks. And I think you had a question. Oh, he's got a thing for you.
It's a question about the Congressional Research Service.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have tutorials, like, how to get to certain reports that you're, because sometimes the search box, you know what you want, but you don't get it, and so I was just wondering.
Not right now.
No? Okay.
It is keyword
Right, I
specific.
know.
So yeah, those of you who might have done legal research or legislative research, sometimes things have more than one, term that are used for them.
Okay.
But you can use operators like and
All
or
right.
not. So Boolean operators do work, and phrase with quotation marks works as
Okay.
well. So try that, and give us a call, and we can work through it together at the
Okay.
reference desk. I actually am one of the librarians that's on the reference desk when you call, so I can testify that we try not to be scary. So please feel free to give us a call. We're happy to help.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Getting too close to it. Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering if the congressional record is searchable by topic.
Yes, so there is, the congressional record has an index. Now, you have to wait till the end of the year or the session before they kind of build that index usually. But you can go back and click pre-prepared topics, but you can also search by keyword. So the example, if you guys want to come, I have, with my colleague, have a congress.gov overview class at the end of the month, so you're welcome to come. But one of the examples I like to use for that is I just searched NASA. I didn't even search the whole, name from the acronym, and a lot of things would come up from that. So keyword searching, you can do that. You can do phrase searching. You can do proximity searches. So, sorry. If you have a name and you're not sure whether the name is in, first name, last name order, or last name, first name order, you can search so that they're within a certain number of words of each other. And that might help with name searching and location searching and things like that. Cool. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much for having me today. Yeah, thanks. And please feel free to call us or send us an Ask a Librarian.